Hey guys, Julian here, and today I'm going to be showing you how to add stereo width to your sounds and make your mixes sound huge and your tracks to the next level. Here is before what we're going to be doing, and then I'll show you after. So here's the before. And then here's after. So as you can hear, the second sound is a lot bigger. It sounds a lot more full, a lot more professional, a lot more interesting to listen to. This is what I'm going to be showing you how to do in this video. Now, to go along with this video, I just released a new Ableton rack on my Bandcamp. The link is right at the top of the description. It's only $5. And what this is it is my ultimate stereo widening rack. A lot of times, it can be really hard to add width to your sounds. That's what we're going to be talking about today. But on top of this, it really helps to have something that you can just kind of drop on, and it just has a knob that says spread. You turn that up, and you get width. You know, it's not meant to be so complicated with all these different things. This makes it a lot easier to just, like I said, just drop this on, turn up the spread, and your sound is wide and big, and you can kind of move on and then fine tune it. And it's doing a lot of things underneath the surface that really help, because a lot of times when you add things on to widen your sounds out, you know, it can kind of wash them out, or it can make things a little bit weird. This is not doing any of that. It's literally just spreading the sound out in a very clean and transparent way while still retaining all of that fatness and fullness, but just again making it a little bit wider and bigger so that your mix can be taken to the next level. So yeah, the link to this is right at the top of the description. You also get this lead that I'm going to be using to describe this. You get the preset and the MIDI for free, so it's a nice little starter pack of just kind of like widening your sounds out, or maybe you just need something new to be able to drop on when you're making tracks. Link is at the top of the description. Again, it's just $5, and this is a great way to support me so I can keep going and making these videos for you guys. But yeah, so let's talk stereo widening. So, before we can begin, the first thing I'll say about stereo widening is you need to kind of pick and choose what you're going to make wide in your track. And this is mostly based on the frequency spectrum. So, typically, the lower a sound is, the less wide it's going to be. So, like, if you have, say, your kick or your bass line, those are usually going to be completely mono. Like, the kick, in almost every single case, unless you're talking about some kind of, you know, experimental mixing, the kick is going to be in mono, and same thing with the bass. And this doesn't necessarily mean, like, your mid-range bass either, but in terms of just, you know, the low, deep sub-frequencies, those are going to be in mono. And then as you kind of work your way up, you know, maybe you get to the low mid-range, that's where things start to get a little bit wider. Then you get to the mid-range, things can be even wider. And then in the highs, that's really where a lot of the stereo widening is going to happen, because those are the ranges where it's less about like punch and fatness and more about air and sort of, you know, breath in the high end. So yeah, that's kind of the idea here, is like you have to first choose what you're going to widen. So what I would usually widen, like say I'm making a techno track, it would be like the lead like this. I would usually widen out the ride a little bit, maybe the hi-hats, you know, some of the percussion. Maybe if you have like a mid-range bass, you could kind of make that a little bit spread out. But yeah, I think it's really important to pick and choose where you're widening, because again, if you just say, like if you just drop, you know, a chorus on your master, it's not going to sound very good. But if you drop a chorus on the right sound, it's going to sound really good, and it's going to make the overall track sound a lot better. So you really need to keep in mind that stereo widening isn't going to be like an overall thing. It's going to be a very specialized thing, and it's going to be a thing where doing it to one track at a time is going to impact the overall mix sound in total. So yeah, so with this lead here, I'm doing a few things to make it wide. For the first thing, I've got the ultimate stereo widening rack at the end, so I'll show you. This really helps. Here's without it, and then with it. So right off the bat, that's making it really big. But there's also some other stuff here. For one, we have a bit of chorus, which that really helps. Chorus is a nice way to kind of add some width, because you're not adding like extra space and time to it, like with reverb or delay, although of course those have their place as well. If you just drop a reverb on and then this echo here, it's not going to sound that good. But the chorus, you can see, like, here's without it, and then with it. Like, it just adds this nice, I'm pretty sure it's just kind of like a very fast sort of metallic delay type of effect. But in doing this, it it adds a lot of width to the sound, so that right off the bat really helps. The next thing that I like to use is ping pong delay. So you can see I have this echo here. We have it on the ping pong setting, and if you look at this, you can see how these lines aren't lining up. Like if we put it on the stereo setting, they're in the same place. All of a sudden, when we put it on ping pong, they're in a different place. This is what ping pong delay is doing, is it's bouncing. Each delay goes from the left ear to the right ear, so you get like a dun 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 kind of effect, rather than just everything being down the center. So I'll show you the difference on this one. Here's with the delay just being mono, just going straight down the center. And then with it being on the ping pong setting. So you can hear what this does, and this is really good because this is not necessarily widening like your main sound. Like this isn't adding a whole lot of extra stuff on top of the main sound. It's just adding these little repeats in the background that are adding stereo width just because you're hearing like those little notes come in from the left to right ear. But then you're still getting the main sound down the center, and it's still really big. So yeah. Really recommend ping pong delay. It's a great way to add width, especially if you're making like techno or something where like, you know, a lot of times in techno or house music or any kind of dance music you can think of, you know, the club system is in mono. So you're going to want your tracks to be really mono compatible. And that's not going to work if you have a sound that is just, you know, you're just dropping like, say, the Haas effect. Like if I just put the Haas effect on this lead and I didn't control like how it was affecting the actual frequency spectrum, I just drop it on, that's not going to work so well in the club. But if you have stuff like this where it's targeting a certain, you know, it's just kind of like adding that background stereo width with the delay, that can really help because you're hearing those delays, but again, it's not taking away from the main sound. So yeah, and then I'll also show you a little bit of what's going on with the stereo widening rack here. So again, here's with this. So this is the last touch, is something like this that you can drop it on, and it'll make your sound wide. And again, if we go into utility and I'll make this mono, it's still entirely mono compatible. Like this would still work perfectly fine in a club, but the sound is just a lot bigger now. So the key to this is essentially just splitting out the frequency spectrum. Like you can see we have, yeah, like you can see this one is affecting, here, I'll close this so that you can see. This one's affecting just the highs. You know, this one is affecting just the mids. And then this one's affecting just the lows. And you'll notice the biggest chain, this whole audio effect rack here, which is doing a bunch of stuff, is mostly happening on the highs. That's really where most of the widening is happening. You know, the mids are still pretty mono. And the lows are just as mono as they ever were, but the highs are really where the widening is happening. So yeah, again, it's all about just knowing kind of like where to spread it out, what elements need to be spread out, and where it's all going to fit into the mix, and in your specific track as well. You know, like maybe in your track your highs already sound pretty good, but then your mid-range needs to be a little bit wider, so you could kind of like, you know, go in and tweak this with the EQ here. But yeah, so really what it comes down to with stereo widening is just knowing what areas to make wide and what areas of your mix need it the most, and then just using effects in a way to service that. So yeah, that's gonna be it for this one, guys. I hope you enjoyed. As always, make sure to like this video as well as subscribe, and let me know what you think of this video in the comments. Like I said in the beginning, you can get my new Ultimate Stereo Widening Rack. It's right at the top of the description for just $5 on my Bandcamp. You've heard it in this video. Again, it's a great way to really widen out your sounds and give them a lot of presence and fullness and make them sound huge in the mix, while still working in a way that will be mono compatible for, you know, club music and stuff like that, but just ultimately making the sound a lot bigger and a lot more full. The link to this is at the top of the description. You also get this free lead and the preset and the MIDI and all of that, so you can play around with it and, you know, maybe even just make a track based on this. Again, this is a great way to support me, guys. I don't make a whole lot of these videos, but with these racks and sample packs and all this kind of stuff, I'm able to keep going and keep making you guys awesome videos every single day, so that we can all keep learning and making better tracks. So yeah, that's gonna be it for this one. Thank you very much, guys, and I'll see you tomorrow with another video.